Good morning and welcome back to our series on Proverbs. I hope that you've been enjoying this time with the pastors here from Temple Baptist Church as we've gone through the book of Proverbs. There's a lot of wisdom contained in here. This morning we're going to be led by our children's pastor here at Temple Baptist Church, Scott Lockhart. He's been a part of our church for many years, and I hope that you'll enjoy your time with him this morning.
Oh! Hey there, TBC family. I didn't see you there. Oh, well, anyway, welcome. It is now my turn to bring you a proverb. And today we're going to be looking at Proverbs chapter 27. You know, if I could summarize what Proverbs chapter 27 is all about, it would be character building. You know what character building means? You know what character is? Well, some would define character as a mental or moral qualities distinctive to an individual. All right? So let's just pretend like you are a piece of fruit. Okay? What happens when you squeeze that piece of fruit? What comes out? Juice. Juice comes out. Well, you know what? What happens when life squeezes you? What happens when the pressure comes? What happens when stress abounds? What happens when, I don't know, you're put in a quarantine or you have to stay home? What comes out? The answer is character. That's what's going to come out. Now, when we look at the book of Proverbs, the authors are given us small doses of vitamin-packed, character-enhancing truths. It's up to us to unpack it and apply it to our everyday lives. Let's start by reading verse 1. It says, "Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth." You know, it's not a bad thing to prepare for the future. But what this verse is warning about is about presuming upon a time to come. None of us know what tomorrow may bring, and we must not really depend upon the plans that reach far into the future. We need to be flexible and ready to submit to the will of God. After all, for instance, how are those spring breaks coming? Huh? Verse 2, it says, "Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips." You know, part of being a follower of Christ means that we're to live our lives and shine for Him. We're to do good works openly so that everyone can see it and see all the works that we do for our God. Well, you know what? It's other people's job to commend us about that so that we can give glory back to the Father. You know, to kind of put the spotlight on ourselves, it seems rather prideful. I would rather others look at the works that I do and praise God for the things that get accomplished through me. That's a wonderful feeling to have. Verse 3, it says, "A stone is heavy, and the sand weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both." Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? These next two verses, they go hand in hand. They go on to tell us about somebody with ungoverned passions. A fool, so to speak. A fool is a person that does not care about the consequences of his or her actions. Their behavior often reflects this philosophy. If we could give their foolishness weight, it would sink right underneath them, right underneath the load that they bear. I've known a few people that have no filter to govern their behavior, and as a consequence, they sink their own ship, so to speak. Be wise, don't be a fool. And then, getting down to verse 5 and 6, and I love these verses. It says, "Open rebuke is better than secret love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful." This verse is pure gold. Have you ever been rebuked before? Has somebody stood up to you and told you about a behavior of yours that needed changing? Well, if you're like me, you might take it a little rough. It might hurt. It's painful. But that's why the verse says, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend." In this verse, we come to see that if rebuke comes from a loving friend, and if it's done through love, even though it wounds us, it's good for us. It's so much better than the half-hearted compliments from lying lips and a deceitful tongue. Take loving correction from those who rebuke you with gladness. It's meant to aid you in the most precious of ways. And in verse 7 it says, the full soul loatheth a honeycomb, but to the hungry soul every bitter thing is sweet. You know, at one point in my life, I had developed some pretty bad habits. I had adopted them into my life, and it kind of ruined things for me and my precious wife, Jessica. You see, my sweetest friend had to step in, and even though it pained her, even though through tears she rebuked my behavior, you know, my bad habits, it was a bitter pill to take. But what she told me made me reflect upon myself and saw that I had stepped away from my God and King, and that I needed to return. You see, this verse, it says, the full soul loatheth the honeycomb. Have you ever been so full that you can't eat another bite? Well, you know what? It goes on to say in this verse, but the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. Going along with that rebuke, my wife's rebuke, even though it was a hard pill to swallow, it is what I needed. Always remember these 4 things when we look at these Proverbs today. Number 1, be flexible in your plans. Number 2, don't do good works to be recognized. Let others praise you and praise our magnificent God. Number 3, guard your thoughts and minds with goodness. To do otherwise is foolishness. And number 4, take rebuke as something good and act upon it. I'm Scott Lockhart. Have a great day, TBC.